Just, I would like to say, just go back and just let them know that, the people of Merced have invested in UC, and from what I gather from people in Merced is that, they feel like UC Merced students are just here to get their education and to leave. That they're not gonna invest in Merced, and so, so it leads the people of Merced to be a little bit standoffish and UC Merced students. We're not gonna, really, get interpersonal with students, because they're just gonna be gone shortly. But, what was I gonna say?
Let me respond to that comment, because I think that that's a two-way street. I think that there is a percentage of the UC students who will stick around. There are some businesses that have cropped up already because of research and stuff like that that have happened at UC. But I think in the general Merced population, you see lots of young people move away from this community as well. So there is also the same movement amongst our young people. Not everybody stays in Merced, and not every student from UC Merced that comes here is going to stay in Merced. Many of them, and most of them, will go. There aren't enough employment opportunities here for everybody to stay. But I think it's a back and forth process, so I think we should be happy for what we get, and not, and also not worry about the to think about what our students also leave. Our high school students leave Merced. Our Merced College students leave Merced. Everybody doesn't invest here either. So it's a two-way street.
And people talk about how, there's a lack of interest, in city council meetings or stuff like that, and what I gather from my neighbors and from people I interact with, is that there's a group of people that got city government sewed up. They have it on lock. I don't know if you guys know what that means, but it's a group of people. There's a lot of people in Merced that are not being represented by local government. And when people do, they tend to get certain stares, from people that are involved in local government, a nice warm smile goes a long way.
You want to respond, and then the person sitting next to you had a question as well, so I want to go in that, then we'll come over here. So we've got lots of questions upon this. You want to respond?
Yeah, of course. So I feel like that was a very valid point. I mean, you're raising the concern that our student population is just coming here for an education, not taking almost taking the environment and locality for granted, and then just leaving. And that's one of my concerns as well. Personally, as a student of BC, and personally being part of the city government, I've gone into the locality. I've seen the conditions that some people have expressed concerns about, and to my understanding, the problem is there, but it's not sufficient for the stigma of the UC students. I do feel like it's definitely a concern for our overall population, and we do need to take care of those issues. And I feel like our county government is very much the ones to go to find out how we can actually respond to these problems. To address how maybe we can keep a retainment of our students here in Merced. Yeah, I mean, as stated, it's the job market, it's the advancement of business commerce, the advancement of opportunities in Merced. A student coming out with a biochemistry degree, can they walk into a job in Merced? Well, if they're from LA, I mean, maybe they're just going to go back to LA because they couldn't find that job here. Hopefully in the coming years that won't be an issue anymore, and hopefully that stigma won't be there anymore. But I myself would like to see our population staying and prospering in Merced, because I see so many opportunities here.
Thank you. You had a question.
Hi, I'm Victoria Castillo. My question is for Mr. Mike North regarding the county board of supervisors meetings. I know people can submit oral communications or whatnot to be inserted in the minutes. How are the minutes recorded? You said that when you do a meeting and you speak, the minutes are recorded, but how do you go about getting access to those records?
It's on the website. It's recorded. The meetings are recorded visually. We have audio and we have minutes accessible through the website. It might take maybe a week or so to get posted, but that's where you would find them. That's where
Now-
they're accessible, right off the front page.
Now,
We have
as
board of
each
supervisors.
person speaks, orally,
Mhm.
that is recorded, you said it within, it'd be submitted. Now, is it all supposed to be put basically on there, the minutes recorded, right?
Are you asking if it gets transcribed, if the oral
Yeah,
communication
like
gets
transcribed.
transcribed?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the idea of the minutes. Yeah, are you asking for verbatim or just
Well, not necessarily
public comments
verbatim,
are taken
but,
down? Yeah.
but taken down, because I recently tried to access, several times when I had actually spoke, at meetings,
Mhm.
and I received a letter back saying that those were not available, and that I could access the video. And
Okay.
that didn't sound right to me, because I thought in order to, when you submit the minutes, if you don't submit them properly, it's a form of fraud. So that's why I was asking you that question,
Okay,
because I wanted to
you're
clarify.
looking for the written minutes in
Yes.
terms of what you said, okay. Yeah, give me a call and, I'm not sure exactly which meeting you're talking about, but we'll take a look at that.
Okay,
Mhm.
I have your information, thank you.
Good, thanks.
Okay, there was a comment over here.
Yeah, I have a problem, and I'm not quite sure where it fits, but my problem is with the openness of discussion around an agenda that has already been set. And I give you by way of example that if we have an open budget process, hearings, everything that is going on in the hearings is well attended and all the information we want is disclosed, but the agenda, well, I'll give you an example also of a question I raised at a meeting with one of our Superior Court judges. And this has to do with the money spent on the criminal justice system and on safety. And the question I raised after he spoke about what a workload he had and how extended the period was on being able to hear trials and trial testimony. And the question I raised was, what would the impact be? And this is where I don't know where this fits in what you're talking about, if we legalized marijuana. Now, that's an issue that he said would reduce his workload, he estimated, by at least 10%. So what's my problem? If the agenda has been set, and all we're looking at in the budget process is we have so much money, and we have to distribute it without raising the question of what can we do to create some sort of impact on requiring less money in certain areas in order to affect how we live. Is that part of this meeting, or is this for another meeting?
Well, let me see if I understand what you're stating here, and that is, not only are we have questions about the budget, but we also should look at how do we reduce workload, and that may have, what kinds of laws we have may add to.
If I may, I'm
more
really talking about input into the agenda, into what will be discussed.
Oh, input into the agendas.
Well, seems to me, and I'm gonna sound a little bit like a broken record, but that's at the stage where we're getting people together and we're talking about priorities, but in this case, we're talking about problem solving. It's taking the community's knowledge and the concerned community. Not everybody's going to be concerned about court workload issues or legalizing marijuana, but some people will. But you bring in together people talking about the workload of the justice system. First of all, we have a discussion about how overwhelmed it is. We figure, and then
Excuse me, that's only an example.
But I'm saying we could do this for any number of things that require public problem solving.
Presenting it as an example.
And to incorporate people's expertise and people's ideas is, I think, the very heart of engagement and openness. Open government is being willing to listen to ideas that are coming from the community.
Go ahead, thank you.
I've been kind of on both ends. My husband worked for many, many years for the city. He was a planner, and he had to attend the planning commission meetings and the city council meetings. And one of the sources of constant frustration to him, and I would imagine this is the source of constant frustration to everybody who's involved in the process, is that there really isn't any public input unless they're mad. I mean, you're gonna come out when there's something happened in your backyard, and you're gonna come out with, but other than, you know, a few of us troopers at the League of Women Voters, or groups like us, I don't think there are any groups like us, to become involved in the process. I think one of the responses that a lot of people give to people who aren't usually there is waiting for the other shoe to fall. Because people don't tend to come to council meetings unless they're gonna complain. And so I think that the council or the board of supervisors is sort of expecting there to be because that's mostly what they get. And yet, you know, I'm not sure how to get people involved in a meaningful way. And I mean, look at tonight. We all worked really hard to get a lot of people here, and we didn't get a lot of people here. And I think that's really sad. And yeah.
Can I ask you a question? I mean, when you say people come here just to complain, I think it's more like, I think it was the professor or the newspaper man that said, our most important job is to critique the government.
Oh, yeah.
Like when I come here, I know they perceive it as complaining. I feel the feedback, you know?
Absolutely.
However, I see it as critiquing. And part of my upbringing was by my uncle, who was the DA in Santa Cruz, an Irishman, way old, he's way long gone. And at his dinner table, we had to take the Irish oath besides say grace. And I'm probably the only person in the family that really took it serious. But I knew Uncle Frank meant it.
Yeah.
Because he remembered the passage our ancestors made to get here. It was a middle passage. It wasn't a luxury liner. And our job was to remember we are the fourth branch of the government.
Yeah.
It is our job to speak out.
And it- yeah.
And if we don't, then no complaining.
I agree.
So when I come here and I speak out,
Yeah.
even though I never get any positive feedback or ideas that they even hear it,
Yeah.
I feel better because I did what I need to do.
That's true.
And I'm not criticizing at all. I think people need to do that. But the problem is people don't come for anything else, really. And so when we want to involve the public so that they become the fourth branch, or
In the bottom of the process.
that they're not in the process until they're upset about something. And I don't know how to do that. Clearly.
Okay.
I appreciate what you're saying, and I do understand.
Okay, there's a question back there, there's a response up here, and I'm the moderator, and another question back there, and I'm looking at the clock, and there's another question up here, and the meeting had agreed to end at 8:30, it is 8:29. So,
Answering quickly.
I will, let's say, let's go another 5 minutes, let's get a couple of quick responses, and then in all honesty, we have to be out of this group at a certain time,
Motion
so.
to extend the meeting.
I was just going to respond that
I'll go ahead and second.
the seats aren't filled, but I don't know that the turnout is necessarily bad. We have a web audience that we don't know about. But more to the point is, not everybody needs to be involved in every issue. We mentioned criminal justice. Those folks that are concerned about criminal justice from both a community perspective and from a crime perspective can attend those meetings. Water is a huge issue right now that some people are going to be more concerned with than others, and education and so forth. And you know, we don't all have time to do all of them, but if we choose our issues and we develop systems in order to communicate on those, we can really make a huge
We want the
difference.
public to more than just react.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, there was a question back here in the very back.
I'll pass.
Okay.
If I'd like to address real quick there, the transportation issue came up.
Yes, it did.
And I'd like to point out that the city and the county don't directly operate the bus system. That is operated by the Merced County Association of Governments. Now, this is where it sounds like I'm passing the buck, but I'm not. Because that group is operated by the 5 members of the Board of Supervisors and then the mayors of the cities of Merced County. Now, they just recently redid the routes of Merced County, and so hopefully you've noticed some improvements in the bus routes and the timings and the schedules and all that stuff. And if they didn't do it right, please look up Merced County Association of Governments or the bus and let them know, because they really were trying to do that right and to do it good. Now, the cat tract is different. And so that's something that UC does, and we've been trying to merge those two to get them operating and have one unified bus route. And we won't even go into the politics of all that, but that hasn't worked out. But for the bus, I know they are doing the route out to UC and all that. And they're trying to do the route from UC downtown and to do it at night on Friday nights and do things like that. Please, let them know, because they want to have that route up and running and doing. And as far as the crime rate, Merced is not a perfect town. We do have crime, we do have some panhandling. We've been trying to address the panhandling issues. One thing I will defend the city of Merced, we are not among the highest crime cities in the nation, of the top 74. That was a poll put together by a company that sells stats to people buying houses. And they put in there the city of Atascadero, which Joe is familiar with. Atascadero is not one of the highest crime cities in the nation either. So to lump Atascadero and Merced and not have Fresno in that list and some other towns in there, if you have to start looking at the methodology. And when they start putting Merced in there with some of these other towns as being the worst of lists, and they start having it and you start looking at the methodology, and they have professional sports teams listed as one of the criteria, and Merced doesn't have a professional sports team, folks, and that's one of the 15 criteria that we're being rated on. You got to start
I'd be
one.
very wary of those lists online, to see them circulated by like major magazines or other publications that have websites. A lot of times, I think they're just like what we call clickbait. It's just trying to get you to zip through 10 different slides, and some of it doesn't necessarily really jive with reality.
I'd like to respond to the transportation issue. Students weren't as concerned with the running of the bus as they were concerned with the development of, through the expansion of the UC, the development of new roads, and the transportation effect on the UC students. That's something that they would love to be prepped for, but they're not kept in the loop with what's going to actually be happening. And so the issue was, where can they actually obtain information, and where can they actually be parts of these talks when they're talking about changing the road systems, when they're talking about what kind of systems we might have. I remember the talks about the merging of the bus systems. That's just a mess. But they want to know, like, where's the subsidies and the funding going, and how is it going to affect the student body? Likewise, how is it going to affect the citizens?
We're trying to find where those subsidies
You
are
guys, I
going to.
really appreciate the discussion, but at some point we have to actually call it.
Could I offer one quick statement and then a question to Joe Kita? The statement is that with regard to access to text information, take a look at the brochure here, which reflects the law, and I think it's like the third page in.
Okay.
Basically, it's everything, everything. And then number two, I appreciate the pointed questions that were raised here tonight, especially on issues like potential police brutality. Joe, you referred to the electronic communication that's going on now amongst social media and other channels. I'm sure you guys monitor that, and I'm sure that you see issues like potential police brutality being referred to. If people concerned about that were feeling like they were getting no response from their government officials, if they came to the newspaper, what does it take for the newspaper to generically kind of to attend to, focus on, put staff time on an issue that may be like that, potentially sensitive?
That is a great question.
I have a story for you.
And I'll tell you what, you know what it takes? It takes a credible complaint. And every one of these stories that we look into doesn't just float into the newspaper. It has to be verified, we have to talk to a lot of people, and we have to research everything. And I very frequently, we will be brought information that just doesn't check out. And so we try to do our very best to look into as much information that's been brought to us as possible. And so if there's a serious issue, we're gonna do our best to find out and kind of get to the heart of the matter. And a lot of times it turns out that it isn't as it was originally given to us. And then, usually we're not going to be reported on it at that point. Sometimes it turns out it's accurate and we go forward with the story.
But
Okay, I'm going to have to say thank you very much to our panelists, Mike North, Mike Conway, Yosef Yakubi, David Kalnick, and Joe Kita. I would like to thank Miranda Letso, who is the Assistant City Clerk, for helping get this meeting together. I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for putting it on, and for UC Merced for broadcasting it, making a webcast of it tonight. Thank you for the audience participation. We really appreciate everybody's time and effort. It has been a very enlightening evening. Thank you. I would invite people to stay and ask questions for a minute or two if you would like.
Oh, why, thank you.
Oh, no, I appreciate it. No. Yeah, talk to Joe. Has authority, responsibility. And I think the last.
Yeah, I agree. I just wanted